Hey everyone, Tim Anderson here, aka Renfell, and welcome to the channel. And welcome to a more personal video. I'm going to do something that I haven't done a lot of here. I mean, I do Monday musings where I talk about life and books and shows, but that's still sort of centered around my hobbies and my passions. I don't know that I've done too many personal videos here. But we're at the end of 2021, and I've got a whole bunch of new followers over the last couple of months. And so I kind of wanted to say, hey, because there's been lot of chatter going on during the live streams on Thursdays, Fridays, and Saturdays when we're playing EverQuest 2, group chats and all this other stuff in Discord. And so I just decided, hey, I want to do a more personal video and talk about something that I get asked frequently and I haven't really addressed here on the channel before, which is why I live in Mexico. Why don't Cris and I live in the States? We go up there every year and we stay for a few months, except for this last couple of years because of the pandemic. So why don't we live up there? Why do we choose to live here? And I'm going to talk about that in this video. I probably won't go too granular, but I'll give you the broad strokes. But before I get into that, if you're tuning in to this and you have never come across this channel before and you're stumbling across this and you're like, what the hell are you talking about? Why do I care? I would suggest dropping down below and checking out the playlists because my channel is mostly about video games, game development, books, TV shows, nerdy stuff. Um, and this is a more personal video, which is out of it's not normal. So if you are thinking about clicking that subscribe button to follow along, you might want to check out the rest of the content that I produce to make sure that you're going to enjoy the vast majority of things that I produce here on YouTube because it's not this type of stuff. That being said, I'm thinking about doing more videos like this in 2022. I've been doing a few on TikTok over the past year as I got access to the 3-minute videos and now the 5-minute videos. And they do well, so I figured what the hell, I might as well do some longer format ones here on YouTube. And this will serve as sort of like an introductory into me and everything else for those of you who are following along. Now, that being said, if you like what you see and you like what you hear, yes, subscribe, bell icon, get updates for all the cool stuff. Join our Discord, links are down below. Let's talk. Um, and this is funny. This is the second take of this. I had previously done a video and I was getting into like 30-minute territory, and I was like, I don't want to do a 30-minute video for this. So I was rambling at a bunch of other stuff. So we're gonna bring it down a notch. Why do I live in Mexico and etc. I have been here since 2010, the end of 2010. I have been a permanent resident since 2015. Cris has had her visa for the States since 2017. Um, we could totally live up there if we wanted to. We have had a couple of opportunities to potentially live up there, um, but we've always come back to why. And I'm not gonna disclose any sort of income during this video. So if you're here for that, unfortunately, sorry, I don't do that. There's a lot of reasons why I don't do that. Some bloggers do. Some bloggers are out there going, I make this much, and here's my income statements. And I don't buy into that because no one needs to know what I make, especially the government. and there's no reason for me to disclose that kind of information. And I say that it makes me sound like a conspiracy theory guy, but it's not the reason at all. It's taxes and just safety and security. Like that's personal information. But I can say that here in Mexico, we live in Mexico City right now. We were in Cancun for almost 8 years, but not the hotel zone of Cancun. We lived in the city of Cancun, which is vastly different from what most people think of when they hear Cancun. Um, it was, the city of Cancun is very much Mexican, and the people who live there are all the workers who go and work in the hotel zone and serve the tourist industry. Um, Nice place to live, but it's not the same thing. Cris and I had an Airbnb for several years there. We were super hosts for the entire time that we ran that for 3 years. Um, and I also ran my travel blog there with her. I had a best-selling guidebook for how to live like a local in Cancun, Mexico. We used to run a lot of workshops. I launched my speaking career there, doing speaking engagements for hotels and running workshops on marketing and blogging back in the day and social media. And then that grew into an international speaking career, which saw us going to places like Spain and Ireland and the United States and so on and so forth, speaking at big travel conferences like TBEX, which I think we've done 5 times, 4 or 5 times. Haven't done it in a couple years because we put marginal boundaries on hold at the end of 2017, and then we moved here to Mexico City in February of 2018 to focus almost exclusively on game development. And then over the last year or two, I still keep my feet in marketing, and I have a day job as a marketing manager for travel and media publication, and then I work in game development on the side. So going back to the expenses thing and why do we stay in Mexico? It's mostly related to costs. I would say it kind of depends on the year because every year is different, and you might have different, unexpected expenses like surgeries and life. But as a general rule, I would say that where we're at now and with the income that I bring in, 70%, maybe 75% of our income is disposable. It's we could put it in the savings. We can do other things with it. And if we went and lived in the U.S., it would not be that way. I might be able to put 15%, possibly 25% away for the future, just depending on where we lived. Healthcare is one of the biggest reasons that we don't live in the U.S. because it's ridiculously expensive up there, and we pay into the system known as IMSS, which is it's not the best in the world, but it's good. And we live in the big city, so we have access to the big hospitals here. So it's what I would consider middle of the road, and it's what every employer in Mexico is required to give their employees. But you can also buy into it if you're a permanent resident like I am now. Previously, we had access to this through Christina working part-time jobs, but over the last couple of years, she's worked exclusively here with me. And then, like the time, there was 3 years doing the Airbnb where we only did that before we moved here. Then when we moved here, she worked part-time for about a year and a half while she was doing classes and stuff. And so we always had it through her work usually. And when we haven't had it through her work, we just buy into it. Um, it's about 800 bucks a year for us at our age group, and that's it. That's what you pay, and it's a social universal system after that. So it's unlimited office visits, unlimited prescription medication, all your surgeries, no copays, dental, everything's covered in that $800 a month. And again, it's not the best. You can get private healthcare here and go to the top tier of hospitals if you want or need that level of service. But it's this is what the majority of people have, and that's what we have as well. And that when I look at that and I go $800 a year, no copay, unlimited prescription medications, unlimited visits, dental, all this other stuff, that's hard to beat. It really is. And that's one of the major reasons we stayed out here because every time we look at the potential for moving up to the States, that healthcare cost is what basically would take like our 75% and bring it down to way less. Not just that, there's obviously other factors in that. Um, but that's one of the reasons that we stay here because you can have a very nice quality of life. Um, and it's no different than living anywhere else in the world. I used to work really hard at dispelling the myths about is it dangerous to live in Mexico and all this other. When my day job was marginal boundaries and I was selling guidebooks and we were running tours and workshops and bringing people down to the Airbnb and doing all the things we used to do, I had a vested interest in showing people how it's no different than any other country in the world. It really isn't. You'll hear things on the news. It's blown out of proportion by the media, especially when you talk about the violence in Mexico. We don't have school shootings. What the fuck are you talking about? Like, yes, there are pockets of the country where there are cartels. You can find violence in every major city in the United States: Philadelphia, Detroit, Chicago. So I always kind of roll my eyes when people make the violence claim because we don't have school shootings in Mexico, and the violence that exists is typically only cartel versus cartel, and it's in very remote pockets. If you have never been, and I'm going to say this with a smile on my face, I grew up in Missouri, Southwest Missouri, and I was born in Springfield, Missouri. If you've never been to like Louisiana, Arkansas, Oklahoma, Kansas, and the backwoods of the United States where meth heads and crack addicts and there's plenty of It's that kind of violence that goes on in the United States, drug-related violence that never hits the news because it's a bunch of backwoods hillbillies and nobody cares. Um, so I don't work so hard to dispel those myths anymore. I just always roll my eyes and tell people, most of the people who comment like that have never had a passport in their life and they've never traveled outside of their own little pocket of the United States. So they're very uneducated in regards to the world and what it really is like beyond what the media tells them. So if you're an educated person, you already know this. Cool. If you're not, I apologize if I'm insulting you at this point, but maybe get a passport and go travel a little bit and open your eyes to the way the world really is out there. Um, I've lived not just in, we were in Cancun, the city. We've been near Mexico City. I also lived for Chris and I went for about 8 months, um, where her family lives, which is deep Tabasco on the border of Guatemala. Out near where like 30, it's where they filmed Predator, and it's also where they filmed Yavin 4 for Star Wars, which is the ruins of Tikal in Guatemala. Right across the river, the Usumacinta River, which runs all the way up to the coast. Um, Guatemala's on the eastern side, Mexico's on the western side, and her family's out in that Tabasco area on the border of Chiapas. We went out there and lived for 8 months after her surgery in 2014 while she was recuperating, and that was no different than being in backwoods Missouri when I was growing up. It was very similar to that, and it's mostly just cattle ranchers and big tracts of land. Um, insert Monty Python joke if you would like. Huge tracts of land. Um, and we actually recently just, yeah, I might get yelled at for saying this, but we did just purchase property out there, which we're not going to go live at anytime soon because I need internet still, and Starlink is just now starting to get here in Mexico. So hopefully we'll get Starlink out there within the next year or so, at which point it might be a viable option to go live in the country instead of staying in the city. But yeah, having the luxury of, knock on wood, having the luxury of being able to be in a position where 75% of your income, more or less, can be disposable means that I have the luxury, and it is a luxury, to work on projects like The Weave and the Void. I've been in a blessed position because of life choices that I have a lot of free time where I can do things that other people can't. And that is a conscious decision because we could live in the States. And if we did, I would have to work a lot harder. I wouldn't have all of the free time that I have to work on projects like The Weave and the Void and previous projects like Saga Leucemia and etc. Um, Cris would definitely have to work. She doesn't have to have a day job because my day job is more than enough. And if push came to shove, we could always, go back and do travel content again with Marginal Boundaries and do freelance photography and speaking gigs and, you know, content. We've got all this camera gear, the drone, everything else that we bought for that and haven't used in going on 4 years now, really, other than on a personal hobby level. And the Weave in the Void is, we just launched this in March of 2021, so we just started that. It was Project Drammon, codename Project Drammon, for like what 8 9 months. We didn't even announce what the name was or anything. Didn't launch the websites until November of 2021. So just a couple months ago is when we made all this public, and we've got patrons, we got affiliate status on Twitch, we've got subscribers on Twitch. It's all going very well, and I knowing how previous projects have worked, by the end of 2022, we could probably go full time on this if we wanted to. Especially if I went and did the whole investor thing again, because that's what we did with Stormhaven Studios. Is just went out and we did a pre-order store, but we also went out and raised a bunch of money with investors, and I could do that again if I wanted to. Probably won't, for various reasons, which I've talked about. Um, in any case, why I live in Mexico is it's purely monetary. We live in a very good part of the city. We're literally less than a block away from the American Embassy. I'm not gonna tell you where exactly, but just um, might be actually a little less than 2 blocks. It's a block or two away from the American Embassy. We are out, the Avenida Reforma is 5 minutes from our house. The Angel de Independencia is right there outside of our main place. We could be there in, you know, five less than less than 10 minutes, like 5 6 minutes. We could be there. There's probably 300 restaurants outside my front door within like 20 minutes walking distance. The biggest park in the Western Hemisphere is 20 minutes walking distance from my home where we live right now. And we have a very small place because we don't have kids. You know, we don't have pets. We don't need a big place. And this is the other thing that a lot of people get caught up in is I gotta have a palatial apartment in a big place because otherwise people will think I'm poor. Who gives a shit? Like no one sees our house. This is what people see. Previously it was a green screen and now you see this. This is what you see. I'm not showing you the rest of our house. Now occasionally on TikTok when I'm walking around with my phone, you'll see, you know, bits and pieces, and when we do the Lotro cooking in real life show, we show some of the kitchen. It's a small one bedroom apartment. It's not a big place, but it's this is the key. It's very affordable, fully furnished, and so fully furnished, great part of town where I get really good internet, and water's included. So the only thing I pay for beyond this is healthcare, groceries, internet, gas, and electric. So your typical utilities, and it's very affordable. It would cost us a minimum. If I went back and lived in Missouri, it would be 3 times or more what it costs to live here. Which is just when I look at that, and it's like that's just and that's living in like a backwoods part of Missouri. Like if I wanted to go back to Springfield or Branson, it would be 4 to 5 times what what we pay here. And then if I want to go back to Colorado, where I associate more with Colorado than I do with Missouri, even though I was born and raised in Missouri, I lived in Colorado from '96 until I left the states. So I'm more of a Coloradoan. The cost of living in Colorado is just skyrocketed since they went the legalization of marijuana there because of all the weed industry. So my sister still lives there, and the cost of living in Colorado is ridiculous. It would be 6 to 8 times minimum more than what we pay here to go live in Colorado, even in like a cheap place like where I used to live in Greeley, or even Fort Collins is outrageous, and Denver's outrageous, and I mean Loveland. I mean everywhere is outrageous in Colorado these days. Um, so yeah, that's why we live in Mexico because it allows us the luxury of being in a position where the vast majority of our money can go to other things, and also it gives us lots of free time to work on other projects, which are passion projects. And I think that that's something that a lot of people are missing in life. There's a great Joe Rogan episode where he talks about the struggle of the modern man, um, and not talking about men in specific, but man as in humanity. The struggle of modern man being that most people get themselves in a position where they're so strapped with debt that they have no other choice other than to work soul sucking jobs that take all of their time and energy, and then they don't have time left for anything else. They get home and the last thing they want to do is do something creative. They just want to unplug, eat some food, drink some wine or smoke a little bit of weed, numb the pain of their crappy job, and like play video games or watch Netflix for an hour or two before they pass out and repeat it all the next day. And that is not, in my mind, a happy existence. So I much prefer what we have and this little niche that we've carved out for us. Anyway, I'm getting close to 20 minutes here. So if people are interested in this and they want to know more, I'd be happy to talk about it. And I might talk about some aspects of it here on the channel into the new year because I do like talking about things, and giving some insight. It's funny too because we haven't done any content for Marginal Boundaries in a long time. We're thinking about doing some traveling again for the first time in a long time this next year, and we're probably going to be starting to do content there for Marginal Boundaries again. I've mentioned this in the Monday Musings show a couple of times, um, but it's very much going to be on a hobby basis these days, and not because we're doing it to make a living anymore. Um, so if you are interested in that kind of stuff, you can kind of go back and look at some of the stuff we used to do with Marginal Boundaries. We haven't done anything with it in a very long time. I do keep the website up, and obviously the social media channels are still there. Um, but like we're planning on doing some trips starting in January, February. Go get some drone footage and maybe start doing videos like once a week for that channel. But we'll see. In the meantime, um, obviously my personal channel here is always going to be more nerdy and game related, but I would like to do more personal episodes like this, perhaps throughout the week. So stick around. I never know what I'm going to do on a given week. I'm actually sitting down with Cris this week before we get into 2022 to sort of iron out an actual content calendar for the new year for all the Weave and the Void stuff, and included in that is going to be me seeing how much time I want to dedicate, if any, to doing one or two personal videos like this. Um, the Diary of an Indie Game Dev thing was very well received when I did it. Obviously, I did Mondays and MMORPGs for 50 episodes, but I'm not actively developing an MMORPG anymore. So if I'm going to talk about MMOs, it's going to be from the perspective of just a gamer these days, because what we're developing is a little different now. So who knows what I'll do here on the channel, but hopefully you enjoyed this. If you did, go ahead and like the video, and consider subscribing to the channel. Hit that bell icon so you can get future updates. And if you want to know more about what we're working on with the Weave and the Void, this project right back here, this whole world, go over to our Patreon. Links are below, but it's patreon.com/wandering hermits. It's myself, my brother, and my wife working on this. And pick up a subscription. It's a great way to support what we're doing there. Also, the general subscription for like $3 a month is a great way to say thanks for the content that I create here on YouTube and support that way as well. In any case, thanks to everybody. Join our Discord if you want to hang out with us and our community. Links are down there below. And yeah, let me know if you want me to talk about other stuff beyond this episode. Stay safe, have fun, and I'll see everybody in the next episode.